Yeah, there they are already. Sweet. Perfect. So I prepared just a couple of questions that are like we can talk freely. I guess everybody can chime in. But let me just quickly see if there was another question meanwhile on the questions. No, I don't think I see something so far. But then I would say let's just start with I don't know, the first question. Maybe we see there's something coming in that we think, hey, let's talk about that. I'll mention this, but let's just start super simple with what were the factors that led you to your current work in, let's say, with automotive visualization or in with basically working with a focus on cars. How did this happen? The journey where you are at the moment. So who would like to start?
I talked a lot right now, so maybe Sam. We haven't.
I love old cars. I mean, mine's pretty simple. I think old cars are really cool, but it's actually I do remember probably before I even started really going to car shows, I played the very first Mafia game, which definitely was too young to play. But I remember they had a really extensive like car encyclopedia because they went to the lengths of like getting all the information for the cars. And while they didn't use the real cars, they were all based on real ones, and it caused like my love for like Duesenbergs and Silver Arrows and all of those and like those kinds of cars I love because of that.
How about you, Jay?
I think it's similar to Sam. I'd like to say it's more philosophical, but it's not. I mean, started with games, Need for Speed, Burnout, GTA, just gaming in general, and then also a love for film, I'd say, combined with gaming. And then there's also the technical side, which is Unreal, I think after 4.27 or 2.8, when ray tracing was introduced within the engine, it just meant you could do more visually appealing, renders. And for automotive surface, shaders, like it needs to look good, or else it doesn't, look photoreal. And that's how I transitioned into automotive visualization. It's mainly, I think, the subconscious love for automotive through games and films, and then eventually I also got tired of architectural visualization and felt
what
I need a change.
Do you have your own Lotus? I have to ask.
Of course, he has a Lotus.
It has to come with the contract, right? It has to.
I wish I did, although in canyon roads, I think it'd be problematic because of
Well, I come from photography, so it's like, when I was young and gaming, it was a Mac with the black and white pixels. It was just as fantastic as what you guys had experienced. And by the time I had a PlayStation and I loved Gran Turismo, but it was a time where grown men playing video games was kind of frowned upon. I'm a bit older than all of you. I think, I'm not sure, maybe not Matthias, but it's so I kind of stopped playing video games at one point. But my approach is more from photography. So I assisted, worked for car photographers, and started working as a car photographer, and then discovered CGI in 2006, 2007, because it was coming in the market as a force, I could say. So started looking into it and realized pretty early on that at that point it was super technical. right? So even opening a car was a mission that only few people could accomplish. And well, I felt that the creative approach to CGI was not very strong. So it was very technical people saying, oh, we can do this, and the clients essentially, oh, okay, you get the job. So first things we did was working with photographers. And when I stopped shooting, my former partner that I was working with together, we worked on CG stuff together. I worked with other photographers, and then slowly moved into film. So coming from that part of things.
So there's a question which just came in, which maybe good to kind of also get a little bit an angle from where we came from to where we maybe want to go or not. So Ben just asks is, how's machine learning / AI utilized, if any, early in production, if possible, to speed up workflows? I mean, that's interesting because there's so many different types of projects that you guys have been working on. So I'll let you guys answer.
When my studio won the grant for AI development, this was like before Chat GPT, so it was for like compartmentalizing a personality. So we actually ended up using it. That we've had a lot of really interesting demos of like feeding in historical data. So for doing our racing AI, we've been taking like the true race records of like Enzo Ferrari and all these actual racers, because we have all of the race records, and we feed that into what would essentially be machine learning. And instead of giving us generative outputs, it's giving us like, this is how this racer would interpret this racetrack, even if they never raced it. So we can have it that if you want to race against Willie Vanderbilt on the Indy 500, good. If you wanted to race Enzo Ferrari on Second Beach in 1904, you can.
Impact on the other guys?
Okay.
I'd say, I mean, it's a layered discussion when it comes to AI. I think personally, personally, I haven't been using it much on whether it's pre-production or production for now. I understand it's something, it's inevitable though, but yeah, from my side, I haven't been using it much, to be honest. Maybe it's something I should start looking into and not ignore.
Well, from my side, obviously, I mean, we feel a lot of pressure. I mean, how should I put it? So first of all, like Sam described, there's a lot of AI in what we're doing, right? Ray tracing, real-time ray tracing works because there's AI in it. It's that simple, right? Gaussian splats, nerves, fantastic stuff, awesome. It's going to play into our hands. It's going to help us do stuff. We're looking at tools that turn 2D images into 3D models. It's like, for me, it's like, it's tools. And, we have a job right now with the creatives, design some stuff in AI. It's for me, I've been around the block a few times. And when Photoshop was new, very similar. So people started photoshopping stuff that is impossible to photograph back then, right? They would make mistakes. They would make the mountains, ignore perspective, ignore all the basic rules of design, angles, views, just Frankenstein stuff together. We see the same thing happening with AI right now. And it's the same tune where it's like, everything is possible, it's no problem. CGI had that as well. Everything is possible, it's no problem. I never, sold that. And interestingly, my biggest competitor is bad CGI experiences on my client. Because they're like, oh, I tried CGI, it doesn't work. Sucks.
But I mean, not
like, well, yes, snake oil. That's like, but same thing with AI. It's interesting. It's a human condition. And it's going to change so much more than in the world. But honestly, not as much as everybody thinks. I mean, the money that's going in there, you know, it's going to solve a lot of problems. It's going to be, do stuff, right? It's like the internet. And we think we know more now because we experience the internet emotionally as a society. And, the tech bros are like, yeah, we are smarter than the guys who said nobody needs a computer back then, right? It's not so easy to call, I think, as everybody.
Yeah, and maybe what you just mentioned as what you perceive at the moment, bad CG as a competitor, may actually turn into an advantage because you still know like the craftsmanship and scene composition and so on, by deliberately fighting against the stuff that AI cannot. Right?
But essentially also, it's like my main guy started looking at AI tools, and I did stuff, and it's kind of like, yeah, okay. And Matthias, the father of Scope City, sits down, spends 3 hours with Midjourney, and stuff just looks 10 times better than what I could do. Essentially, who is behind the keyboard, right? So again, it's like, it's know-how, it's experience, it's taste, and when Jay was describing how he sets up shots, it's very similar to what we do. And this is a craft. You learn it, right? How do you set up a camera? There's a reason why you do that. And this is something you can learn. Look what DOPs have done. And they've not done it by accident. They're like, okay, when I do this, this is how the eye perceives it. This is the emotion that I'm trying to trigger. This is what we're doing. Will AI be able to do that? I think yes, but you still need a fantastic person behind the machine, right? You have very stupid AI videos, and you have some, well, they're really funny, but they're not funny because the AI was funny that day. Somebody created that stuff, and it gives creators tools to express themselves, which I find a democratization of creation. That's fantastic, right? CGI does the same thing because you can Jay can set up a shot that looks like a desert in California without leaving his desk. Right? You get that shot. You don't have to travel and do get permits, wait for the weather, and do all that jazz. Get the shot.
It's like magic.
It's creative freedom.
Yeah. How about, I mean, there's a huge amount of discussion going on in that sphere or in AI in general, and lots of challenges there and stuff to be seen and to be developed. But let's talk a little bit about more the challenges in your specific, let's say, work. What are the individual challenges that you see that are like that form you, that like as a character, but also as a business person, and that shape that you have to adapt to become better at your craft, to survive in business and so on? What are these challenges that other people in the audience may not be aware of, again, because they maybe come from a different industry?
Be stubborn. Continue to like bang on. I mean, it's one of those things that like I think back to like my mother would be like, oh, just go to the place's office and just say I want to go work at Bethesda Games, and like we all know that's not how it works. But I've had a lot of success by being persistent in wanting to know more about these cars. And it's that, I started this back, I think I said in like 2017, we restarted it 2 or 3 years ago now. And it was just recently that we partnered with the Rhode Island Computer Museum, that we're getting these demos done with pixels and polygons, that like we actually have a path forward to make it happen. And it's really, I mean, it's crazy to me that this is going on 10 years of me doing this, but like it's truly like it's one of those things you just need to continue to be working at it. And I mean, I'm sure both Jay and Farouk can talk to it. You're going to spend an obnoxious amount of time working on one singular thing just because you want it to look absolutely perfect. But that level of detail is what makes such a huge difference in these things.
And in your specific field, or let's say, where would you specifically put most of your energy into? Like based on your presentation, is it at the moment, what's the hardest, what are the biggest challenges? Is it like sourcing data? Is it creating more convincing models in your case? Is it more figuring out how can I model this without taking the car apart? Where are your specific challenges?
Oh, the number one's always funding, but that's not really that interesting to talk about. No, I mean, like it's a lot of being able to actually get the information to build all of these things. I'm very fortunate that like since we've been doing this, I have a pretty solid group of people that I trust that can reach the quality that we're looking for. But just some of these tracks, it's just so limited. And like, you know, I'm up in Rhode Island right now. I can go and do local research and drive to Second Beach and do all this myself. But like, it's very difficult when I have to deal with, you know, what about tracks there are a couple big ones in Florida. Georgia has a couple big ones. A huge problem we have right now, which I would like to put out to everybody listening to this, is one of the museums we work with, the Nethercutt collection out in California. They have the largest library of pre-war mechanics guides and manuals for all these cars. None of that information has been digitized. And it's just been on the to-do list of like, we'd like to digitize this, but who has the time to go through thousands of manuals and digitize all of it? But that would be so valuable. That's literally all of that information can directly go into our game that we can use to make it better. But someone has to sit down and literally spend months doing that.
So it seems like, let's say, physical movement in the sense of you have to go somewhere. It's like physical logistics and looking at physical books which were not digitized yet. And it's pretty probably impossible to automate this because you have to, if you have an old book, you have to actually or let's say take out, like cut it open so you can have each page separately, and then at the end you have to bind it again to protect it and then preserve it with the proper chemicals and room temperature and so on. So none of that, it's part of your journey, it's part of the body of work which you're producing in general, but none of that stuff can or could be even remotely or at the slightest be automated with AI, for example. So it's physical, logistic, your time, your personal network, and those things.
But what I think is really nice and like in terms of where AI is going in the future, what I love is that if we were able to digitize all of those manuals, you could build a local language model around them. And instead of you having to pour through thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, you could say, I'm looking for this, and the AI can find that. But that's something you can't even have, an AI cannot really do that. Like, it can't do that right now. You would have to build that tool with a team of historians to even have that. But there's a lot of value to having something like that once you've compiled all the data.
What? I mean, there's so much money flying around in AI. So what? It's the, you know, the tech bros.
It's not flashy enough. That's always the problem we've had. You know, it's like you can run something through ChatGPT and it looks really flashy on the front end, but the back end is just ChatGPT. But then when you have something that's really heavy on the back end, unless you actually know what you're working with, it doesn't look like anything.
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned about like construction manuals. Like some people will put this under their pillow because they love it. Other people would say, why construction manuals? Why? Right? it's yeah, but that in itself, some people may also say it's not flashy, but there's your passion, right? In those things.
Yeah, and that 100% is, I think, like that is what keeps this alive. I mean, the Nethercut collection, it's run by Cameron Richards, who he's younger than me. Like, you know, our entire relationship was us talking at a car show, and he's like, "Oh, I love Forza. I wish I could do that with our cars." You know, and it's like those people are the ones who are helping preserve this, and it's just there aren't a lot of them. So it's like it's trying to get as many people to work together to try and preserve it all.
And like a vision like that would need to have it at the very tip of the spear. You would need to have a person like Jay Leno, which creates a foundation for preservation of, let's say, vintage cars in a digital realm, something like that, right? And I definitely see that something like this could manifest, but really only get into motion by being promoted by a person like him. So.
Yeah, that's been one of the things we always joked when we started this, that we were 1 degree of separation from Jay Leno. We like met his producer, we met his mechanic, we met everybody, and then we like finally got to talk to him briefly last year. And he's doing a million different things, because he's also pioneered 3D printing for car parts. He just had a car that you can't get the part anymore, but he has all the schematics because he has his own library, and I forget the name of the company, but they literally printed it, and that's what he used to fix the car, and it's worked perfectly fine. Yeah. So that's a whole new industry that like we need, you know, people need to do that.
Right, but I mean that's to me that's so fascinating about this, connecting the different industries, right? So we're talking about car manuals, but still in kind of in the context of 3D environments and all of that stuff that makes us kind of humans interact with the real world in transportation and all of those things. But now, and one of the for some of or for the people in the audience that are not aware of this, for me, exactly these discussions are so important because, and that's specifically how or why the ICE conference is basically industry agnostic, because some people that may really struggle with finding a job, for example, in visual effects or in games, they may hear something like that and say, hey, I never thought about that, but I can bring in some of my knowledge. I know how to model a car in 3D, but I would have never thought that I might eventually work at some point for a foundation which is there to preserve vintage cars. Right? And just this cross-pollination, pollination, wow, that's a tongue breaker. Cross-pollination across industries, but actually that's the humanistic aspect which is so important to me in the context of the ICE conference, to enable people to find different threads to continue their journey based on the rucksack or the backpack which they have. Right? But how about you, Jay? What are the unique challenges which you have at the moment in your work that you are struggling with and want to share?
I'd say if we look at this as a CG issue rather than automotive, then I'd explain it in a way that we're being bombarded by all these different developments, right? Like Farouk was saying, generative AI has kind of overtaken every conversation we see online. On LinkedIn, it's touted as this thing that's going to replace every creative human being in the next 1 year, 2 years. And for me, it's a funny thing because AI is more than generative AI. it's more than this videos or images you produce in Midjourney or Kling or VO3, and I feel like it's kind of the shiny object syndrome, where you show there's really good looking visuals done using AI, and you tend to ignore everything else that's on the back end. For example, AI in VFX has been there for 20 plus years. Even if it's using rotoscoping via AI, that's AI. Gaussian splatting is AI. 3D scanning to a certain extent was AI. So for me, I'd say the boring side of AI is kind of interesting, where it's more technical. It's more, you're able to have this control nets around AI rather than me logging into my Midjourney account, making a funny meme of a dog or something. I feel if and I'm not saying it's bad. It's fine if that's what people like doing. It's okay. But I feel if we rely too much on the generative AI side of things, it's almost, I feel like it's almost fooling your brain into thinking this is what I had in mind. So say if you have a previous, you're working on a pre-visualization for an automotive project, right? And in your mind you think you'd want something that's like a Nevada desert, with a red, Testarossa across the desert. And if you go online, you will find references from films or commercials in the past, or even photography. Like automotive photography is it's a wonderful thing. There's so many references you can find online. But I feel, and this is me, I can't really explain, but when you go with AI and you say, give me a number of reference images or images in this style, and suddenly it spits out 7 or 8 images, and I don't know if it's our brains, if they're not able to catch up, catch on as quickly as possible. You feel like, okay, yeah, the fifth image is kind of what I had in mind, and I feel like over relying on it too much during the initial phase is kind of, you're fooling yourself into thinking that's the vision you had in mind. Whereas if you spend more time, thinking about your final vision or your final idea you had, and you kind of use it sparingly, it makes more sense. But these days, I feel like we see so many videos or commercials on Instagram, and they all start looking the same, because it's as if they've been referring to this one data set which is present at the moment. But who knows, 7 months down the line, it's all going to change, in terms of what the data is trained on. So again, I may be ill-informed because I don't use it too much, but I feel like a balance is necessary. Like, I know they say on LinkedIn, you go, every other post is, this commercial might have taken $10 million, but I've done it for 5,000 or $10, and it strips away everything in between, which is, why did you create this commercial in the first place? There's a demand for it. There's a crew behind it. There's a story behind it. There's a vision behind it. But when you tout it as this thing where I got rid of 50 people and now I can do it on my own, it's almost, I feel like it's also kind of arrogant, in the sense that, do you really know? For me, for example, I'm not a DOP, right? And there's someone who's been in the industry for 40 years. And now with AI, because AI can replicate maybe Roger Deakins style, does that mean I'm Roger Deakins? No, it doesn't. So I feel like there needs to be a balance. Yeah.
But it is, I think, that's the thing. That's what I say, the snake oil salesman, they're yelling and they're saying it's all no problem, da 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 da. The democratization of creativity, I think, is interesting. That people that could not do things can do things. So it's similar to when we went from film to digital photography. Same conversation. Oh, they don't, because, keep in mind, when I was shooting on film, you have to expose correctly to a third of a stop, transparency, right? Every shot costs you $15. Every time you do $15, bye-bye, right? So when I was, shooting professionally on 4x5, if I remember correctly, our yearly film budget, just buying film, no processing, $150,000. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back on 30,000.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay, it's kind of for free. So you start overshooting. So it's and professional labs are gone. There is no, there is some, but it's not like overnight processing. Certain parts of the business are going to go away. At the same time, people were blocked from entering the market because they couldn't afford film budgets. They couldn't buy the cameras. They couldn't, just technology stopped them from being part of the game because they couldn't afford to get into the market. But they were creative, they were good, they had ideas. So digital photography opened that up. And at the same time with the internet, social media, the amount of photography that is needed today is, I don't know how many times higher, right? Funny statistic is Kodak at its highest year, 2000, when they processed the most film worldwide, and I'm not sure how correct that number is. I think the amount of photos taken in the year 2000 and processed is going up onto the internet every 10 seconds. So the amount of media is more. So there is going to be people that are going to create very nice AI films that they could not before for whatever reason, although they have a telephone with a camera and all that jazz, but they couldn't express their idea because, well, the idea was penguins jumping out of a plane, whatever, right? Something fantastical or difficult to do or hard to produce. Obviously, they're copying other stuff, but every now and then there is people who are like, wow, that's kind of a cool idea, right? That's what I believe in, so that the good ideas with the new technology are going to separate the successful people from the other ones that are just making noise, right? It's just, that's going to go away. At the same time, AI is going to empower, barbershop, Minneapolis, I don't know why I say Minneapolis, because Prince is coming from Minneapolis, I guess, can have a great campaign that is on the same level that a New York agency could have produced, right? With somebody takes the time and does it and says, oh, does it? And it's just for their audience in Minneapolis, right? Selling haircuts. Certain level of creativity becomes available to them that was not available to them before. Same thing happened from film to video or digital, from Photoshop, no Photoshop. So it's, but I agree with you. It's not going to be what those guys say, Hollywood is done. It's over now. That's rage bait. I learned rage bait from my kids. I'm like, this is rage bait.
I just wish more people would go further with it. Like, I said that it's really hard when you're competing with, you can just run something through ChatGPT, right? And like, it's okay, but what if you had a group of historians take the time to build a proper digital museum quality twin? But people don't want to do that because that takes 8 months. And like, it's funny because you brought up the marketing example. We've been trying to do AI stuff to build a marketing tool to help us do indie game marketing, and we're on month 9. And so it's like I agree. It's like if people push this further to go beyond Midjourney, go beyond ChatGPT, go and actually mess with building your own models, because you can make custom stuff that's based on actual good work.
Yeah, I think that's, the API industry, let's call it that. Something like that, where you go back into licensing and, there's going to be stuff that is commoditized and there's going to be, let's say people typing what somebody spoke into a tape recorder. Well, they're out of business. They've been out of business for a while. I never needed a secretary in the old school sense, right? Because I never had to send letters to somebody. I had email. But those are jobs that got lost with computers, let's say, right? So yes, fax sales machine, not a fantastic career the last 20 years. But if you're a good sales guy, you probably started selling these things. Right? So it's, of course, some people, it's the same thing in the creative industry. Like you said, Jay, rotoscoping, maybe not a huge future. Because
but still again also that, I mean, it's a multi-layered, it's a very, very multi-layered discussion, and we don't have the time today, but it's something that it's very moving to me. I've invested a lot of time in thinking about those things. Is where do the ethics kind of, or what are the dynamics behind the ethics of, for example, being okay with certain types of jobs being lost? And we know in history this has happened, but now us on basically being on a culturally, societally being on a more advanced level, feeling a certain responsibility towards, if we go towards a post-labor economy where nobody with AI, nobody has to work again, how do we protect the people that are losing their jobs now? Because we feel culturally we are more advanced and we feel and sense a responsibility for those jobs that are being lost at the moment. Let's say for like rotoscoping. I don't have the answer yet, but it's such a complicated dynamic.
Well, honestly, I mean, it's I'm with Sam, because if you actually have to do something, house of card breaks down quickly. You need to be very good at things and pull it off. It can do certain things, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be so much better, so much faster, so much better, so much faster. No.
I don't think it's replacing anything anytime soon. It's like, I don't want, without jumping too much in the generative stuff, there's nothing that's usable. There's nothing that I've gotten that I've been like, yeah, this is better than me hiring somebody. Any of the students who I teach, doesn't matter the level, produce quality that I'm like, I appreciate this more. And I'm not saying I'm not going to predict the future and say it's always going to be that way, but I don't think it's going to be as instantaneous as everybody thinks.
I think exactly what Sam says. The people are going to start using it. So the rotoscope artist is going to be the one that can rotoscope faster because he or she knows how to use the AI. The modeler, like we do. I mean, when you look at Houdini, it's machine. You could say it's machine learning, right? We just model very simple blocks, and Houdini does magic. Same magic, if you ask me, like AI. Right, so somehow the guys programmed it so we get like realistic looking stuff. But still, so many decisions, so many details. Yes, you need to do it faster. So many bad decisions that AI makes.
Yeah, amen to that.
But if it's serious, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And I feel it's a never-ending conversation when it comes to doing things faster for where does that end? I mean, there's no end to it. If that's how you're selling a service, where does it end eventually? Do it faster. Okay, we spend 5 days. It's 5 hours, 5 minutes, 5 seconds. So, yeah, for me, it doesn't really make sense. Like Sam was saying, it does need some knowledge behind it. But yeah, the boring side of AI seems more fun.
It's never boring. As the boring side of AI is never boring.
Yeah.
All right. I would say let's bring this slowly to a stop. How about the last statement of everybody very briefly?
Preserving these cars and these tracks are very important, and I'm like I said during my presentation, I'm very lucky that we get to work with the Rhode Island Computer Museum because it allows us to do this through donations, so I'm not beholden to a big publisher. If you want to support us, I know we'll have the talks posted online later, but I'm sure we'll get that out somewhere.
Yeah, no, definitely we'll do that.
From my side, yeah. From my side, it's been an amazing conference. I mean, thank you for inviting me. Seeing what Sam, Farouk, you're all doing is, I mean, first of all, seeing how you're using the data, the height maps, and everything for landscape. It's something. Maybe I'll bother you, sometime.
Oh, please.
It's really interesting. And for Farouk, I mean, it goes without saying, we've all been following the work you guys are doing at Scope, and really nice seeing kind of the curtain being pulled back on the process and beyond. Yeah.
It's just work, right? Like everybody, you just have to put in the reps and do it. So yeah, thank you very much, Matthias, for putting it together. It's great to meet Sam and Jay and the people in attendees list. Hi. And I haven't done that earlier, but I'm doing more conferences and meetings, and I think they're very enriching. And real life is great. This is also great because I think we're living in a fantastic time, and I hope people can stop worrying about the dangers that are there, because if you look at it, take 2 steps back, humanity has never been in a better place. Right? We're living better than the last kings that were kings, for medical.
There's still some around.
Yes, but it's a thought worth bringing up every now and then, as far as health is concerned and information is concerned and freedoms. And I know it's not the same everywhere in the world, but also in the big picture, it's worth reading a little bit of history and balancing things out and using the technology that we have to actually reach out and connect and love cat videos, don't get me wrong, I need those, but there is incredible opportunity. Let's embrace it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for the panel discussion and all of the presentations. It's been a huge pleasure to have you here. So cool. I'll just continue a little bit longer with just by myself basically doing the announcement of the how I want to do the prize lottery thing, because some people came, some people went already, and but I'll do this, and yeah, then it's almost done for today, like the official part. Some people, if they want to stay after the prize lottery, we can stay a little bit longer for some chats, but that's not part of the official conference. It's been going on for quite a while already. And then there's another day tomorrow with a slightly different topic, but I hope equally interesting and inspiring as what we heard today from you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Take care.
Bye bye.